First, I want to thank you, everyone, for joining the session today. Today, we're going to talk about we're going to tackle something about cyber security, that is penetration testing in a crucial part of it. So, this session is brought to you by Space Tech community and Mentalist as a product, which Space Tech everybody knows that it is a common community known to everyone, which is the one handling the session today. The one behind the mic, that is Lawrence Juba. Then there's a product called Mentalist, which is a platform that undertakes, which holds one-on-one, which allows one to have a personalized one-on-one mentorship with a mentor in different stack. So today you're honored to have a speaker, that is Clarion, who is going to take us who is I can tell is a cybersecurity expert than a product manager too. Maybe she will tell us much more about herself as she introduced herself. Clarion, welcome. Take over.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
okay,
before Clarence start, for the session, if you've got any question, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Let's not open up your mic if you're not have something to talk up. So, thank you, Clarence. Welcome.
okay, thank you, Lawrence. Wow. I don't know where to start, but well, can I know how much time I have, please?
As long as what time you tend to do the presentations, but we can put it at 9:30.
Okay, yeah. That sounds good. If you say as long as I want, we could spend the whole night here talking about cybersecurity and all that. But then, thanks everyone
and
who's
and, and
joining.
and it is a very wide aspect of part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you give us topics that we have at heart, we could spend whole time. Yeah, so I'll just start us off with of course, a story. Sorry, I got a distraction. Yeah, so once upon a time, there was a skilled hacker. Let's call him what, or we call her. Okay, let's call him John. I mean, who had a passion for identifying security vulnerabilities in systems. So, despite his skills, John was an ethical hacker who used his knowledge to help organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities that could potentially be exploited by malicious hackers. So, John's expertise in identifying security vulnerabilities was critical in his role as a penetration tester. In this world, we call them pen testers. So, of course, his work involved simulating real world attacks on computer systems and networks to identify weaknesses that could be exploited by hackers. Well, this guy's reputation as a skilled hacker with a deep understanding of computer systems and networks made him one of the most sought after penetration testers in the industry. With his skills, he could identify and fix vulnerabilities in computer systems that, well, were previously thought to be impossible to fix. So one day, John received a call from a client who suspected that their systems had been compromised by a hacker. The client was a large bank that had millions of customer accounts and sensitive financial information. Of course, we all understand what the bank holds. So John knew that he had to use his skills to identify the vulnerabilities that had been exploited by the hacker. He began his work by conducting a thorough analysis of the client system and networks. Then he used various tools. And then he also did some social engineering tests to assess the client's employees who were, vulnerable to phishing attacks and all that. So as John worked on the project, he discovered several vulnerabilities in the client systems and network. So these vulnerabilities, of course, included the outdated software, weak passwords, unsecured network ports, and any other vulnerabilities that we could think of. And so he presented his findings to the client and worked with them to fix the issues that had been identified. Well, thanks to John's expertise in penetration testing and, of course, doing that exercise. So, listening to this story, it just sets us a ground of what we are going to talk about today. And today, my work here is to just tell you more about a pen tester, what we do, and why we are important in this industry, especially in this field, and why pen testing is one of the critical aspects of cybersecurity. First to the expertise themselves, and of course, always, every time to the organization. Yeah, so my name is Clarion. I know I've interacted with most of us on different platforms and forums, but then I'll be your speaker today. Allow me share my screen, please. Okay, Zuma, you can let me know if you can see my screen.
It's okay. It is not yet up.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. And am I heard? Am I loud and clear, or I'm loud and not clear, or I'm clear and not loud? I'd appreciate some feedback. Am I loud and clear, clear or not loud, or loud and not clear? Okay, awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining this session. And I just want to take us through penetration testing as a crucial aspect of identifying vulnerabilities in ethical hacking. I understand the audience. There are some who really don't know what penetration testing is. There are some who at least have a clue, and there's some that are expert in this. And so together we are going to learn together for a period of like less than an hour. I don't really intend to keep us. I only have
Homeowners in this part of the
seven
country can
slides.
face some unique challenges. Things like Michigan basements, fieldstone foundations, and dugout crawl spaces can create a
Yes.
lot of problems for otherwise nice homes. Luckily, there's AIRS. AIRS can seal crawl spaces, reinforce foundations, and even apply new concrete to crumbling walls. Your home can be safe and solid, less.
Thank you. Yeah, someone had to mute. Okay, so as I was saying, I don't intend to really keep us. I want us to do this in less than 1 hour. And so today we just want to see the importance of penetration testing and why it's crucial in identifying vulnerabilities in ethical hacking. So, as I said, I just have 5 slides actually, with just the first being the hi and the last being the thank you. Yeah, so On to some bit of introduction on what penetration testing is. I'll be using pen testing sometimes or just PT sometimes, so don't misunderstand. Yeah, so penetration testing involves simulating real world attacks to assess the risk associated with potential security breaches. Yeah. So someone would ask, and what's vulnerability assessment and what's the difference? So unlike the vulnerability assessment, the pen tester not only discovers vulnerabilities that could be used by attackers, but also exploits the vulnerabilities to see what the attacker might gain after successful exploitation. And so in layman's language, I'd say pen testing, or rather penetration testing or PT, is just going ahead of hackers, uh, trying to be that hacker, go through the system to see what a hacker can take advantage of. Yeah. So why we do that? Brings us to the importance of identifying vulnerabilities. Why do you have to do pen testing or rather identify these vulnerabilities? For what reason? So first is of course for risk mitigation purposes. You know, so you have to know how weak your system is so that you can take the necessary or rather the needed actions. Um, Also to prevent exploitation. You know, it's good to know what you're lacking or the loopholes so that you learn on preventing, you know. And of course, data protection. If you know, like one of the vulnerabilities you have in the system is that your data is out there, of course, that would be a good heads up for you to protect your data and ensure that everything is okay. Um, Another reason would be, or rather, another importance would be for to sort of preserve business continuity, you know, and of course, again, that comes with the financial impact. Again, every time data breaches happen, or rather exploitations happen, and people have to fall victims of the cyber criminals, there is a financial impact. So to save on that, um, identifying vulnerabilities early enough is good, and so pen testing is very important. Yeah. Reputation. Talk about reputation is very key. I mean, reputation management. We know of so many companies that have been in the limelight recently, where I mean, fall victims of ransomware attacks, others phishing attacks, others lost their data and all that. And so, not every company or organization would really want such a reputation, you know. So, knowing this or having a heads up about your systems and everything is would really be very important in your reputation management, you know. Another importance would be on compliance requirement. So to comply with standards and compliance, especially on systems auditing and all that, you need this, you know. Yeah, and of course, again, if you are in an organization, identifying vulnerabilities early enough would be very essential and would help you in doing effective resource allocation, such that you'll know where to allocate resources in terms of what vulnerabilities to fix first, because the pen tester will give you a report and will tell you this one, this risk is medium, this one is high, this one is low. So you'll know how to allocate resources in terms of mitigation and of course fixing the vulnerabilities and all that. Yeah. So up to there, I don't know if we are together still or I'm just yapping myself here. I'll appreciate. I'll appreciate some feedback in the text. So far, so good. I'd ask my listeners, what is the difference between pen testing and why do you think it's important from what I just shared? So you can just write in the chat as you get going. I'd love it to be very interactive. And please ask your questions here. Okay, so yeah. Awesome. So as you can see, if you don't identify the vulnerabilities, we've seen the importance of identifying vulnerabilities, and of course, not identifying the vulnerabilities on time would lead to things like data breaches, loss of confidentiality, financial losses, reputation damage, IP theft. Ransomware attacks, loss of competitive advantage. Something else would be even the employees wouldn't have that morale and trust on the organization and all that. So that tells us how it's very essential to really be doing pen testings in our organizations. Try to assess the vulnerabilities before we be caught off guard. And so I'll briefly talk about the roles of pen testing, the roles of pen testing, and of course why pen testing. And so pen testing serves as a proactive security measure by allowing organizations to identify and address vulnerabilities before they can be exploited by malicious actors. So of course, penetration testing will help you in the following ways, like it will come in handy in early detection of vulnerabilities, and of course trying to help you mimic the real world threats, uh, help you assess your defense system. It will also give you an upper hand in having comprehensive tests, and of course just coming up with a proactive risk mitigation. And so also, it will also help you in doing a timely patching and remediations. Timely patching is just fixing those vulnerabilities and all that. And of course, even when it comes to, it will help you as an organization to know how to conduct the employee awareness and training, and of course how to put up the threat prediction and prevention. So it's good to know that pen testing involves the methodology, or rather a controlled execution uh, of simulated attacks on a system's defense, closely emulating the tactics and techniques that are used by the malicious hackers. We'll get more into that. Yeah, so the structured approach is designed to assess vulnerabilities present within an organization's digital infrastructure while ensuring the security and the integrity of the process. And so that now differentiates makes the difference between a pen tester and a black hat hacker. So what makes the difference between a pen tester, or rather an ethical hacker, and the malicious hacker is that pen testers do their work in a very structured way, uh, um, in a very permitted way. And so we have a sort of a structured approach that we use. We also have controlled simulations. You know, we have the authorized access. Like for instance, we have to discuss and agree with the client. Where can we the scope of everything and what they need to be done. So there's an authorized access. We try to replicate real world attacks, but then under control, you know. So again, an advantage we have as pen testers is we have a variety of attack vectors. I'll get into that in the next slide. And so we also keep the data privacy and ethics. You know, we'll help you do the risk assessment. We'll do the reporting and recommendations. We will recommend to you after doing the pen testing, like you need to fix this, you need to do this. This is what is really important. This one you can, you know. So we'll always give that reporting and recommendations. And to your advantage, you'll have to learn from the attack simulations that we did. You come up with a proactive defense. I think I mentioned about that. And of course, come up with a framework of a continuous improvement. So that now just summarizes what a pen tester does, you know. Yeah. So someone will ask, why not use automated security tools? I mean, why not use automated security tools? Why do I need to hire a pen tester to come and do the penetration testing on my systems and all that, you know? So the reason is because you might miss certain vulnerabilities. And so this is because if you use automated tools, security tools, you'll miss on certain vulnerabilities because there's a limited scope of detection, you know. Of course, again, there'll be a contextual understanding, like the tool may not understand sometimes the context and all that, and so that would be a limitation. So you may, I think may is the right word, miss on many vulnerabilities, you know. So another thing is because of what we call the lack of human intuition, because the tools may not understand. For instance, if the tools were to do the social engineering, they may not have that human intuition to get everything, you know. And so for you, you may think, okay, well, I'm sorted. My system is not that bad, but you are. I mean, you are lied to somewhere. You see. So another reason would be the false positives and negatives. Of course, automated tools will always have that problem. And another thing would be you may miss on the deep level analysis, you know. So an automated security tool may not do what a pen tester will do. Yes, a pen tester may use those tools, but then there is a need of just having a pen tester than saying like, let's just put an automated tool, you know. Yeah, so I've talked about the application logic flows that may make you miss on the potential vulnerabilities. This is because things like vulnerabilities arising from flawed application logic, you know, like business processes. or user workflows are often challenging to detect through automated scans. So these flows require a sort of understanding of the application's intended behavior. So with that, an automated tool may really miss on many vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
I've talked about the false positives. Sorry.
Before you continue, are you moving your slides, or are you just in one the table of content?
Okay, I'm about to move. I was just explaining on something.
Yeah, it's okay. Do
What are you seeing on your screen?
the table of content, the introduction, importance of identification,
Okay.
vulnerability, or
Yeah. Okay, we are good. We are good.
it's okay.
Yeah. So another reason why you might miss on certain vulnerabilities if you go for automated security tool would be identification of misconfigurations. So things like misconfiguration in system settings, access controls, and security configurations might not trigger alarms in automated tools, even though they can lead to serious vulnerabilities. But there are others might be missed in the due course. Yeah. So now that Lawrence has complained, I haven't moved my slides. They said I only have 5 slides. So yeah. So another thing to point out just before I tell you about the phases of PT, which we'll dwell on a little bit, is penetration testing goes deeper, exploring potential attack vectors that could be exploited. So you realize that with pen testing, it will allow identification of complex vulnerabilities. Uh, it will allow thorough analysis of systems and apps. It will uncover misconfigurations in a system. It will help in doing exploitations of interconnected systems. It will sort the application logic flow. It will help in social engineering and user behavior. This is something you can't do with an automated tool. Yeah, and of course, it will also help in simulation of something we call data exfiltration, which we are not talking about it right now. Yeah. So we have, as I said, the difference between pen testers and malicious attackers is because for us, we are doing it on purpose and we have a structure. And so this brings us to the phases of penetration testing. So first, we have the information gathering. Yeah, so we have the information gathering, and then we have the threat modeling, then the vulnerability analysis, exploitation, post-exploitation, and reporting. So I'll just take us through these a little bit. Um, you find, for instance, on the phases of the information gathering, just before I get to the phases of at the phases of penetration testing, we always have like or rather stages of doing pen testing. So first, it would be a pre-engagement phase. A pre-engagement phase is where the pen tester agrees with the client about the goals for the pen test. They map out the scope of the pen test, like to what extent and parameters of the test. They agree on the testing window, they agree on the contact information, then they also agree on something we call a get out of jail card. So as a pen tester, this is where you first before you take that task, you have to agree with the client a get out of jail free card. This is where you talk about you have authorization to perform a penetration test on the target. And if a target is not owned by the company, for instance, because it's hosted by a third party, you have to make sure to verify that the client has a formal approval from the third party to perform the penetration test. This is because sometimes you may test, and maybe you go out of scope and you get yourself into problems, and that may get you into jail. So you have to agree with their client. So after the pre-engagement phase is where now we get to information gathering. So information gathering here, here you just have to you analyze the freely available sources of information. You could use the open source intelligence. You can use other tools like code scanners to do that. But then what I mean with here is just you have to like gather all the information that you need, for your task. So after that is when you get to vulnerability analysis. And so here now you attempt to discover vulnerabilities in the system that can be taken advantage of in the exploitation phase. And so after that, the exploitation phase is where now you have the taste of it. And then the exploitation phase is where now you analyze the result of the exploitation and find additional information, sensitive data, and of course now start documenting. And so the last phase or other stage of in pen testing is now reporting, where you now write a report and all that. So I just want us I want to take you through a little bit of information gathering and all that. I don't know if I should switch Windows OS, but well. So in the information gathering, as we said, you've agreed with the pen tester, with the client. The pen tester has agreed with the client that this is what they want, and so the next thing is you are very green. You don't know now. Sometimes you know more about the organization, the systems, and all that. But then now you have to really get into to know more about it. So in the information gathering phase of pen testing, the goal of this phase is just to learn much about the client as you can, So this is where you ask yourself questions. For instance, does the CEO reveal way too much on Twitter? Is the system administrator writing to like archive listservs and all that, maybe asking about systems and all that, because that would really tell you these guys are using this system, So at this point, you are thinking like a hacker, For instance, if you wanted to know what systems the organization that Lawrence is working with are using, you just need to stalk Lawrence a little bit more and get to know what questions is he always asking on his social media. If he's asking about a particular system, apparently that's the system, you look at things in different perspective. For instance, like if the company recently recruited a system administrator, and in the job description they pointed out that they just needed someone with expertise in a specific system, that specific system tells us that is the system they are using, So this is where, just in the information gathering, you have to like ask yourself what software are their web servers running on, are the internet facing system listening on more ports than they should? What ports are open? What ports are closed? Like you ask yourself, like, where are their servers? And so in for you to get all that information, there are many tools that you can use. And so I'll just take us through. For instance, you could use the questions I'm asking are more of open source intelligence gathering, as in you are just using what we call the OSINT, open source intelligence gathering, where you're just asking yourself questions. You are asking yourself questions. Some questions can lead you to something. Some questions may just be relevant. For instance, a question like they recently recruited a system admin who they wanted someone with expertise in this system. As much as that, the answer to that may lead us somewhere, again, it may be relevant. So with that, again, you have to use tools like we have tools like Netcraft. If you go to I'll stop sharing for a minute because I was sharing a tab. If you go to something we call, okay, I won't share the whole link. Okay, so you can use something like Netcraft, I think. Let's look for that. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, that was sharing. I think I'm sharing. Can you confirm if you can see my screen again?
Yes, that is up.
So as I was saying, there are tools that are online. I mean, for instance, at this stage, we are just trying to gather data. We are looking for information about our client. And so we have a site like Netcraft. With Netcraft, you'll be able to get some data. For instance, let me do a random search on our website here. We try looking it up. Okay, so as you can see, we just kind of looked this site up, and already we know that this site was set on August 2018. We look for more information that we need. We already know that this is their domain. We know their name server. We know their domain registrar. We know that they're on Amazon, and we have all the IP addresses here. So I mean, for hackers, I mean, some of this information, they're just a leeway to something. So these tools are used to harvest data, because at this point we need information. We need to know about whatever the systems and all that. Now you can imagine, with all this information gotten here, we can get into their system, and so another tool to gather data, online, would be Whois lookups. So Whois lookups, you just come again and you just go to whois.com and look for your targets, and of course they'll give you all the information you want. They'll tell you wherever, even when it's expiring, and you can that's a vulnerability, because if you want to patch something, they'll give you the name servers and all the information. Yeah, again, I think it's important to say that all this is for educational purposes, and I can't remember that term that is used. If you go try it on without permission, don't quote me there. Okay. Yeah. So those are the things we can use. You can use you can use wherever. Mostly we use Kali Linux to do many things. I hope you're still seeing my screen. Yeah. And so sometimes we just come and we just come and ask questions here. We see what we can get, you know. What was the domain again? What domain was I using? Okay, I remember the domain. So we are just trying to find information. Okay, so now I'm still gathering information, you know. So you see, I've gotten the domain, I've gotten the registry domain. You see what you can see. I've gotten the name servers, compare them, they are the same. So to mean these guys, if I was interested, I could go ahead and dig deep, you know. Yeah, and all that. So as I was just trying to mention about how pen testers will help you gather data, or rather gather information and help you know how insecure you are, how vulnerable you are, you know, because they use their expertise and behave like attackers the way we are doing it to ensure that they've gone all the ways that the hacker would have gone to launch an attack. Yeah, so there's who is lookup. I've talked about netcraft. The next thing maybe I can talk about is maybe trying the what we call the DNS lookup, where you can you can use NS lookup to look up any site. So again, I've just used that site because we have permissions. Okay, so now you see with these ones, I just use an NS lookup and I can see the server, I can see the address. And this is important, you know. And with this, I know I already know what we can exploit and what we cannot exploit. So we have other things like host. With host, you can check, and this is for the pen testers that are attending. With host, you can check. You can check again. You can do the DNS queries. You know, you can ask for the name of the servers and all that. Yeah, and even with something like NS lookup, you can even get to know what mail servers a company or an organization is using. For instance, if we just do NS lookup and type it should be search type the mail servers that they are using. Okay, now you see, like here, we already know these guys are using the Google mail servers. So as if I was if I was attacking, or rather I wanted to attack them, I'd know I'd know like where I'm going, you know. So once an attacker knows where your mail servers are, that's an advantage. Yeah. So I've talked about information gathering. So a pen tester would go to the next end of looking for zone transfers, searching for email addresses. I mean, if we continue, I know by the end of the session, someone may even know how to look for emails and all that. So for instance, they may search for email addresses using different Python tools or command line tools. Like the Harvester is really good in getting you all the emails you want on a system. Up to that point, we haven't gotten into the system, remember? And so, yeah, information gathering. So the next point would be to talk about port scanning. And so with port scanning, when we want to scan ports, we could do manual port scanning, or we can do whatever, how do you call it? The opposite of manual. Anyway, so when you're doing manual port scanning, we can, if you're a tester or what, going to that field, you can use things like Netcat or Telnet, and of course, the Nmap is very important here. Yeah. So we use different tools, to get what we want. And so once you can, for instance, if we do an Nmap, my first speaker is. Just a second. Sorry. Okay, so for instance, if we do an Nmap and we try see let me think of an IP address. Okay. So yeah, you scan ports, you get to see what ports are open, what ports are closed, and with that you know how to exploit the ports that are open, and yeah, finally get you into. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Are you sharing the
Yes.
the CDM window
What are
or
you seeing on your screen?
the slides?
Both. What are you seeing?
See the slide.
What are you seeing on your screen?
Still the slide.
Oh. Oh goodness. You are not seeing. Are you seeing a black screen?
No.
Ouch. Okay, let me see. Let me stop again and start again. Google Meets, or sometimes. And right now, what are you saying? Oh, so I have to always be picking the screen I want to share. I thought I was sharing the whole window, so it's quite bad. Okay. So now, what are you seeing?
Your command interface line. Interface.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just trying to show, so I'm not pretty sure if you saw the illustrations on Whois, NS, host, zone transfer, and so we are on Nmap, and I was trying to show like you can use Nmap to to scan ports on an IP, and even got to an extent of getting doing a version scan of the same, a version scan of the same in getting information. So once you've gotten all the information, now that takes us to, for instance, what you're seeing here, I was just doing an sort of a scan on this IP address. again, I have permission to use this IP address. So as you can see, it's told us, we have 997 plus ports. The TCP 1723 is open. We have this that is open, and you have this that is open. This information is very crucial to an attacker. So we'll be like, yeah, So I'll go back to my presentation. My first slides presentation. Are you seeing my presentations? Now in this case, you have to tell me when you're seeing my screen and when you're not seeing my screen. Okay. Okay, can someone confirm if you can see my screen? We are back to the slides.
Yep, that is fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now the next thing is now finding vulnerabilities. At least you have a sneak peek of what it means, information gathering. So we gather all the information. For instance, if we wanted to, now we are doing a pen test on that URL or that the IP address provided. And so at this point, an attacker knows, and we know where to attack and all that. So the next thing as a pen tester is finding the vulnerabilities. And so in finding the vulnerabilities, again, there are different tools that are used. And so now we are just from an Nmap scan to now identifying what are the vulnerabilities so that we can advise our client, And so in this case, we use different tools again. We use different tools, and today I think I'll just give you a sneak peek of a tool called Nessus. Okay, I think I have to stop presenting so that I share my screen and pick what I want to pick. Okay, so I'm just okay, yeah. I hope you are seeing my screen. Okay, so there's this tool that is called Nessus. Some use Metasploit, some depending with what tools you're, could be very essential, and sometimes use multiple tools so that we compare the results. And so just want to show this. Okay, we are almost done. So in finding vulnerabilities, you have to do automated scanning, you have to do some targeted analysis, you have to do some manual research, and so I don't know. Okay. Let's just do a new scan. So this is how it looks like. You can just go, you choose the type of scan you want. And so I don't want basic data there. Okay. Let's do a basic network scan for these guys. Okay. So I'll just go to test. It's save there and do a scan and click. Okay. So I will launch the scan. And so as the scan run, at the end of the day, we should be able to see how the scans look like. So once you've done that, this is how it would look like. It will tell you the OS, of course, where your target is running at. You'll see the host. It gives you the IP address. Then it summarizes for you all the vulnerabilities. So, as a as a pen tester, you have to go through them all and see what makes sense and try them out. Yeah, and all that. So once you have this, I don't want us to, for the interest of time, I don't want to go into the Metasploit and all that, because I could show you. Yeah. So another tool that we can use again is something we call Nmap script engine. Yeah, it's also very essential in doing vulnerability assessment. And so you could use Nessus, you could use Nmap script engine, you can use Metasploit, and so many tools, Yeah, so I think the next thing, because I don't want us to go there, I'll stop again and share presentation. Okay, yeah, so back to the presentation. So that's how we find vulnerabilities. We analyze them one by one and figure out how to go about them, and see and do and of course exploit the loopholes to not to our advantage per se, but for the purpose of the task. Yeah. So we also do web scanning, and so this is where you just have to scan the web app. Especially if it's web based, and also here you could use different tools there's a tool called Nikito, which will just if you're using Kali, you just use Nikito with H, a tag H with the IP address, and it will do the thing for you. So I want to pause there first and ask if there is any questions so far, so good. Before I mentioned about capturing traffic, or rather, capturing traffic here is where again the pen tester would use a different tool on your networks and see the possible vulnerabilities there again. And so in this case, you can use something like a tool like Wireshark, where it can help you capture the traffic, filter the traffic. It will help you follow a PCP stream. Also, it will help you dissect the packets, and even do something we call the ARP cache poisoning, and IP forwarding to, and also help you in doing the DNS caching and poisoning, and so all that are used by hackers, both malicious and ethical hackers, in getting to see how they can attack you. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I briefly just take 5 minutes to take us through the possible exploitations and how it happens. So, before I get there, does anyone has a question?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes, please.
What are the different type of pen testing, and how are they unique in the different tools? If there are the different types.
Okay, so your question is, I think I'll pick up the question first, and then continue. So your question is different types of pen testing. I can see a question: how can a hacker gain access to email account or YouTube account? Okay, let the questions come. If you if you can't unmute, just type.
Then when making a report,
Okay.
how is it important to do the proper documentation of what uh, of the report when doing when conducting the pen testing?
Okay. Okay. So I'll handle the three questions, and okay, yeah, I'll handle the three questions. And so first, I'll start with the question in the chat room. How can a hacker gain access to email account or YouTube account? Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, very easy. If I'd continue with showing how we get a URL, get the IP, get the mail servers. Now we dissect until we get to see. I mean, all the places you are on internet. So you get your email accounts, and there's something we call email accounts harvesting, and see that email has been used for what purpose. For instance, if my email account like clarion.mapungu@gmail.com, a hacker can use that to know all the accounts that I have with that email, including PayPal and all that. So what saves the accounts is is the passwords. So yes, I can see. I mean, if your email account is Shadrach Wangi, I don't say I know, but yeah, a hacker will use that particular email to know all the accounts that are on that email account. And so if it's the same account you've used for something like your YouTube account, and my target is to hack your YouTube account, then if you do not have a very strong password and a very strong password system that includes 2FA and many others, is yes, we will get into your we will get access into your account. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. The second question was about types of pen testing and the importance. So, well, we have so many. So many different types of penetration testing, depending with the need. That's why I said in the phases of penetration testing, the first phase is pre-engagement, where you sit with the pen tester and decide what exactly do you want. So we have the internal stroke external infrastructure pen testing. We have the wireless pen testing. We have the web app pen testing, mobile app pen testing. Even social engineering and all that is still type of pen testing. We have the cloud pen testing. We have something again we call the agile pen testing. Yeah, so it all depends with the need of the client. For instance, if you wanted to check how your staff are secure in the cloud as an organization, you'd have to find someone who's good in cloud pen testing. If let's say it's a bank that has done a mobile app, that has done a mobile app for their fintech services. They'll have to go for the mobile app in testing. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. And so about reporting, about report writing, um, you asked about why it's important.
Yeah, why is important, and maybe what should one include in the pen testing report?
Okay, so about report writing, that is it's a very critical. I mean, it's a very critical point because you can imagine if you needed to know something and then someone doesn't give you the feedback, you know, it would be very useless, you know. So report writing, when it comes to this, is very, very critical because that is what will summarize everything. That is what will I mean, that's what will kind of open your eyes and all that. So as pen testers, when we do our reports, the reports have the executive summary and the technical report. So the executive summary always include a background where you just give a description or rather the purpose of the test and try define any terms that may be unfamiliar to executives. Because remember, this report, you are presenting it to non-techies and techies at the same time. So there is that background. The executive summary has to have the background where you just give a description plus the purpose of the test, any definition of the terms or unfamiliar terms, you know. And then the overall posture. So the overall posture is just an overview of the effectiveness of the test, you know. For instance, we could say, if I was to write a report on the system, or rather the URL that you've been using for testing, is I'd say like an overall posture is exploiting their servers vulnerability and all that, you know, and mentioning issues that maybe they lack a patch management and all that, you know. And then another thing under executive summary is, you know, and so in the risk you have to say whether it's a high, it's a moderate, or it's a low, you know. So yeah, you should also include the an explanation of how you've done the risks and all that, because you'd find some risk in some organization are high, and in some organization they are moderate, or rather medium, you know. So you also have to include your some general findings, this is what I found, this is what I found while I was doing the wireless, this is it, on the agile, this is it, on the mobile app, on the web and all that, when I was scanning the web apps, this is it and all that, yeah. And so that is very essential because that would be understood by everybody, whether technical or not technical. But then now we have the technical part, or rather the technical report, which in this report, you give the technical details of the test. So yeah, in this case, it should have an introduction where you are giving a sort of an inventory of the details, such as maybe a scope, contacts, and so on. And then talk about the information gathering, you know, so give the details of findings in the information gathering phase, you know, that you did. So the next thing would be, just under technical, is now talk about the vulnerability assessment. So this is where you give the details of the findings of the vulnerability analysis phase of the test. And then I'll talk about exploitation. This is now where you are verifying the vulnerability. Remember, you assess the vulnerability. Now at exploitation is now you are verifying the vulnerability, you know. Yeah, and then give a post exploitation. So this is where you just give the details of the findings, the details of the findings of the post exploitation, and maybe you can bring in some sort of recommendation. But wait, there is the risk the risk section, where now you have to give a quantitative description of the risk discovered. And so there you have to estimate the loss of the identified vulnerabilities that may be expected if those risks are not mitigated or rather patched, And so end with a conclusion. So to answer your question is report writing here is very essential, and you have to understand how to present your report to be understood by both technical and non-technical. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question though.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so I will again present my slides because we are done. Awesome. Yeah, so the attacks here after after a pen test has assessed the vulnerabilities and all that. So some of the attacks that are launched, or rather that are exploited, would be first exploitations on what you found out, And then, of course, you go to password attacks. Look at the password management. Try harvesting the online passwords. Try using different tools to get the passwords. I know most people use this known tool it's called what? John, there's something. Is it John the Ripper? Yeah. So on social engineering again, you can do it manually and also set and automated, use automated tools. There's a tool called it's called SET, as in social engineering toolkit. Yeah. So use healing and all that. Yeah. So on social engineering, there are many attacks that you can launch as a pen tester, which same attacks. The thing here is the pen tester launches this attack for purpose, because we want to see how weak your system is. We want to see how weak your organization culture is. Is it are you in an organization where someone, just a stranger, can pull a password out of an employee like that? Yeah, but malicious attackers do that to their benefit. Yeah. So under social engineering is where you pull spear phishing attacks, you pull web attacks, you do some mass email attacks. You do some just some questions randomly and all that. Social engineering. Yeah. So another thing that a pen test would do, which is done by an attacker definitely, is trying to bypass the antivirus applications. Sometimes in organizations we say, oh, we have firewalls, we have antiviruses, we have anti-malwares and all that, but little do we know that those anti-malwares, those antiviruses, those can be bypassed by an attacker. So as a pen test may try attacking like that, attacking, trying to be offensive in that manner. Of course, do the web app testing. Web applications testing mostly. I've had someone asking me what tool to use for web application testing. I use BAP proxy mostly, and of course there are many tools that you can use. Yeah, and then also you can now do the wireless attacking. So the wireless attacking here is where you just attacking any any wireless, wireless device from mobile phones, to your Wi-Fi's, to all that, So this is where you scan for access points, and try those points. Yeah, so you can do the iConfig and get to those points, exploit them. See, like a real scenario would be: can I use an access point to get into someone's mobile? Or can I use like a Wi-Fi? Everybody's connected to Wi-Fi, but my target is I need I just need to interfere with something there. Can I interfere with the communication between your mobile and the network? Yeah. So as I said, like pen testers, they use real world simulations, like methodical replication. You have to replicate what the malicious attackers are doing, and that's our job. Yeah, we have to have a sort of an authorized testing environment. We explore attack vectors. Exploring attack vectors is: can someone attack us from the wireless point? Can someone attack us from the browsers? Can someone attack us from the servers? Can someone attack us? All those. Yeah. Another way of course, we do real world simulations is we do multi-stage attack scenarios. And so, sorry, I have a distraction. Just a second. Yeah, so we also do multi-stage attack scenarios. So in this case, pen testers, we use one vulnerability to pivot and gain deep access to systems. So of course, hackers do that. So another thing is testing the incident response. Yeah, so sometimes, of course, real-world simulation attacks, they also assess an organization's incident response capabilities. For instance, before a hacker really comes in, they have really assessed you very well, researched on you very well, and they have seen the loophole and taken advantage of it. So of course, evaluating how quickly and effectively we can detect and of course mitigate an ongoing attack. So sometimes we just have to assess the incident response of an organization and see your incident response. It's like I had to make a joke about a certain team where their defense system was interesting, but I know I have friends in that team, so who supports that team, so I'll not go there. Yeah, so there's identification of weaknesses. So in this case, we just use simulations to identify weaknesses in security controls, configuration settings, authentication mechanisms, and of course, any other elements that we know can be of advantage, or can be of importance to a hacker, whether ethical hacker or a malicious hacker. Yeah, so another thing is the validation of defenses. So the aim here is just to validate the effectiveness of the existing security measures, just like the incident response. Yeah, so we just validate the effectiveness of existing security measures, like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, access controls. Yeah, to just ensure that they're doing what they should do. And of course, something else would be a user interaction assessment. So this is where we just want to manipulate user behavior and see, I mean, how employees respond to various scenarios, including phishing attempts, social engineering techniques and all that. Yeah, and then there's the data exfiltration simulation. So this is where, as a pen tester, I may attempt data exfiltration to demonstrate the potential consequence of a successful attack. You know, so you just at this point we're just highlighting the significance of data protection and encryption and all that. Yeah, so. Of course, after conducting a real-world simulation attack, we provide detailed reports. I think I've talked about reports when answering Lauren's question, where we outline the vulnerabilities exploited, the methods used, and yeah, we give recommendations for remediation. Yeah. So benefits of pen test to organization. As we've I said in the beginning, I mean, I don't think I really need to take a minute on this, but of course, I mean, as you've heard throughout the session, pen testing would help in reducing risks and strengthening security. It would help in having a proactive risk mitigations, in building security awareness, yeah, of course, in boosting trust and reputation management. And it will just help the organization to have a continuous improvement plan. And also, it will help you as an organization to prioritize resources to address critical vulnerabilities. Yeah, so I mean, there's this joke. I mean, someone asked, what's a hacker's favorite season?" Uh, Someone, what is a hacker's favorite season?
Do they really
Phil,
have a season?
yeah. I mean, yeah. What is the hacker's favorite season? So, okay, so a hacker's favorite season is a fishing season. And of course, my next question would be, how prepared are you? One, as a hacker, and two, as an organization. So thank you so much for listening. It's really been great learning together. Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Yeah, thank you for the insights. Before you part, maybe I could ask, how frequently should one organization check do pen testing?
Okay, so pen testing should be. I mean, I'm trying to look for the best scenario to give, like in real life situation. Well, I'll not go there, but of course, it depends with organizations. You should do them as frequently, just the way you do your backups. You know, so depending on what you are doing, for instance, always you could do it quarterly, you could do it bi-monthly, you can do it bi-annually, you know, you can do it depending with the organization, but it shouldn't take long, especially your product. So what you do daily should inform how often, how frequently you should do pen testing and vulnerability assessment. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Then the other part of the other question is that assume you've invited an ethical hacker or a pen tester onto your to do a testing onto your platform. How do you ensure that they should not pass the boundaries of the boundaries of what should be tested?
Yeah, so again, as I said, back to the phases of pen testing, there is the pre-engagement conversation that you have, where you have to agree on so many things, from agreeing about the goals, agreeing about the scope, you know, to what extent, the extent and the parameters of the test. So that's a conversation you have in the beginning, even before we now get into the information gathering and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And to most of the things or everything, they do have challenges and problems. What are the maybe some of the challenges when doing pen testing, and how can they be overcome?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, there are both sides of the coin, and challenges when it comes to pen testing would be maybe communication, where as a pen test, we have to really set a protocol of communication, where for instance, if I'm doing something and I need something, we should set rules in the beginning. Who should I ask? So some of the one of the challenges that pen testers go through is lack of channel of communication, because you could be doing something and you need to reach out, and maybe the organization hasn't didn't really speculate very well. That could be coming, and so that's one of the challenge. Another challenge would be uh, sometimes you notice like the systems, um, but then it's not really a challenge, because that's what we should point out though. But sometimes you find like the internal employees of that particular organization are the ones maybe trying to interfere with the process. So again, it's a challenge. Yeah. Sometimes different tools, using different tools again, may really take some time. Not all times though. And sometimes you get clients who want to tell you what to do when you know what you should do. So yeah, those are just some of the challenges. But then there's the other side of the coin is better than the challenges here.
Yeah, thank you. Just before we wrap up, if you've got any question, you can put it on the chat or just raise your hand from the audience. Then before we close up, you as a cybersecurity expert, what is your day-to-day activities in your position?
What do you mean? Like my day-to-day activity, how my day looks like as a cybersecurity expert.
Oh yes.
You want to be a cybersecurity expert?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like content creators. For us, sometimes we forget to eat. Yeah, sometimes we are like, I wish I knew. But then, yeah, um, the good thing is for us, we feed so much on cookies and coffee. So yeah, that's why we want to ask you whether you're accepting cookies on websites and all that. Anyway, so uh, a life in a day of a cybersecurity expert. So of course you wake up, you have to do the you have to do the tastings. You have depending on how the day looks like and what projects you are doing. So there's that part of doing the tests. There's that part of reports where you have to do the reports. There's that part of now presenting the reports to the stakeholders, or rather the organization, and people of interest, and all that. So it all starts from the handiwork of doing the thing, which now everybody knows about the process and all that, to now writing the reports, and to now presenting the reports. So depending on how your workload looks like, you will have tasks and assignments cut across all those points. Yes, mostly sometimes we work in a team, sometimes you work alone. So depending on the, on the scope, again, that would inform the kind of tasks you are doing. Yeah. But we always have pressure, like pressure, especially if it's a, if it's a pen test or a pen tester who happen to be in the SOC team. You know, it's sometimes it gets overwhelming, but we manage. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.